Hello, today is April 24th, 2006. We are at Pontiac Township High School. Today we are interviewing Alfred L. Meng, who was born on March 1st, 1928. I am Isaac Shields, the interviewer, and the camera operator is Taylor Brinkman, and our other group member is Tony Gambardella. We are working on an AP U.S. History project. Al Meng served during World War II in the U.S. Navy. His highest rank was Pharmacist Mate 3rd Class. He served in Great Lakes, Illinois, Portsmouth, Virginia, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, why did you enlist in the Navy?
Well, I guess for one reason, a good friend of mine and I talked it over, and we thought it was kind of a romantic situation to join the Navy and see the world. Also, we were able to get 4 years of the GI Bill for education if we needed to, or if we wanted to go on to college then. So right at high school graduation time, we thought that was a pretty good deal, so we decided to do it then.
Now, why did you choose the Navy rather than any other branch of the service?
Oh, I suppose really we thought that it would be more fun to sail the world, and most Army men were stationed at bases, but on board ship, why, even if you were on different ships, you could probably have transfers whenever you wanted them, and if the Navy personnel went along with that, why then you could see other lands that way and sail.
Now, where did you go and what did you do there?
Okay, I can list kind of in the proper order, starting from high school, if you'd like. My name, you can call me Al. I was born and raised in Pontiac, and I've lived here all my life. I went through the school systems, and just 2 weeks before I was to graduate, I enlisted. A good friend of mine, like I say, he and I decided to join the Navy, and maybe we could even stay together. Although sometimes that doesn't happen because the branches of the service decides on where you're supposed to go and what you're supposed to do. We enlisted in the middle of May, 2 weeks before school was out, and they automatically graduated us. That saved taking exams. A couple other friends of mine that enlisted a little bit before then also, but this was at the time that we did. We went to Great Lakes, and we spent 8 weeks at Great Lakes. We got through the boot camp. Boot camp was quite interesting. We learned how to grow up a little bit there. We learned the Navy way of doing things, not our way. We were drilled a lot. We went out on the fields and drilled, marched. They just marched the devil out of us all the time. We learned to, in classes, we took some different courses. They wanted to see how you qualify, like to go to radio school or become a yeoman. Now, yeoman was an office worker. You could be a machinist mate. You could learn a lot of trades right through the school system like that. So we decided we'd go ahead and look for other ways, and I joined a group that wanted to go to hospital corps school. There was an opening. A couple of friends and I went on ahead to that corps school. We went to Portsmouth, Virginia. We went through the corps school there and had about 8 weeks of it. And afterwards, we went ahead to Philadelphia Naval Hospital. These friends of mine wanted to further their education in medicine, and they knew that a big hospital like that would give them a lot more education. Should I go on from now? More?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Go ahead.
go through other things. After I went through the naval base at Portsmouth and got to Philadelphia Naval Hospital, I took a more or less kind of an on-the-job training course in how to become an operating room technician. It was quite an experience of learning. A lot of people don't like the idea or the sight of blood or anything connected with it. After a few months of that, I got my technician papers, and some of the duties of the men that worked in the operating room were sterilization of equipment and supplies, assisting the surgeons in surgery. The big effort was to maintain cleanliness and sterility, and it was very important not to have any infections with these operations that we assisted. Not all the time did we scrub up and assist. We put up supplies, sterilize things. It was important to work in the workroom. There were about 25 of us that worked in the operating room, and we had three different shifts. Sometimes at night we were on call for emergencies. Somebody had an appendectomy operation, or maybe an exploratory laparotomy, which was an internal, maybe stomach problems or intestinal problems, something like that. If it was an emergency, we'd get called out at night like that. Just a second, just cut off for a second. About Philadelphia now. Is that all right? Okay. Ready? One of the interesting features about the Naval Hospital of Philadelphia, like I say, it was a huge place, and they had a recreation park across the street from us. They had golf courses and swimming pools, baseball diamonds, and they also had Franklin Field, which was a huge football stadium. And in this stadium is where the Navy and Army used to play their annual games. Sometimes when those games were being played, a few of us would take the elevator clear up to the roof, and we'd take our binoculars up there. And we could look down maybe about a fourth of a mile away, and we could watch football games from up above like that. So that was kind of a fun thing to do that. Philadelphia was a good liberty town. There were a lot of historical places, the Betsy Ross House, Franklin Institute, the Liberty Bell, quite a few of the old American Revolution sites to see, and that was one of the places I kind of got interested in U.S. history that way. Although my favorite historical research is on the Civil War period, but I did get started by having interest in the American Revolution. Like I say, Philadelphia was a good liberty town. They had USO organizations. They had sightseeing trips you could take. The Salvation Army had always had coffee and sandwich shops located around the town. Of course, this was late in 1946 and 47, so the war was just over, about a year and a half. Getting back to our time in the operating room, most of the patients that we serviced and operated on were those veterans who had come back from World War II, and they needed maybe plastic surgery or bone grafting or some type of serious repair work that they had acquired during the war. The complement of the Naval Hospital was about 500, and that included the pharmacist mates, the doctors and nurses also. From there, I got discharged after 22 months. I had signed up for 24, and they discharged me in 22 months. So I went home and decided that I'd start the school down in Illinois Wesleyan. And after about a year, I'd come back home, and I decided to go in business with my father. My wife that I had met, I knew she was a Pontiac girl, and I was going with her at Wesleyan, and she didn't go back to school either because we became engaged, and then we got married in a couple of years. We were married in 1950, and then 6 months after we were married, I had signed up for the inactive reserves, and I got recalled to the Korean War. In fact, I'm probably the only veteran at the War Museum that was in 2 wars like that. At least I know, Navy-wise, that I was the only one. I went to Great Lakes for a couple of weeks waiting for assignment. It was during the Korean War period in 1951. I finally got my orders to report to Little Creek, which was an amphibious base right out of Norfolk, Virginia. And it was a big infirmary that I was to go to. Well, I only had 2 months left on my 4-year re-enlistment in the reserves, and I thought, boy, this is going to be a snap. And about that time, President Truman extended all reserves for 12 months. So I had 14 months to put in, but my wife could go with me and we could live off the base. Might as well have a good time out of it because I couldn't do much about it, but at least I wasn't being sent to Korea. We were living close to Virginia Beach, which is quite a vacation spot out there, and a lot of times on weekends we'd go swimming in the beach like that. So we had a lot of fun together like that, and about 6 months later I got transferred to the submarine base at New London, Connecticut. There was a big infirmary there, probably with about 50, 60 pharmacist mates, I stayed about 6 months there. One of the interesting features about New London was just that the north of the river, just about 2 or 3 miles, was a place called the Electric Boat Company, and that was located at Groton, Connecticut. And at the time I was there, they were just starting to produce the first atomic submarine, the Nautilus. I could drive by their fence that they had surrounding the company there, and I could look down along the river and I could see that submarine being constructed. Quite an interesting thing for our first atomic sub. Whenever a submarine went out on maneuvers, we would have to be on call because at any time there could be an accident, submarine could have trouble, and they need the pharmacist mate at the infirmary in case anyone had to be attended to. Someone could get sick on a sub and they could, violently sick, they'd have to quit and bring them back. So every time a sub went out on maneuvers like that, we'd have to be on call. I stayed there, and then I got through the retirement period of my Naval Reserve time, and then I came back home and stayed in Pontiac, got married, started a family, and I've lived there ever since then. If there are any questions I can help you with, just feel free to ask me, and if there's anything I can think of that came about, even not in connection with your question, let me know.
You said you were interested in history.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any battles, campaigns, or wars that you find especially interesting?
Oh, not necessarily. Now, I've been to the Gettysburg National Cemetery and also Vicksburg Cemetery. As far as the Civil War is concerned, it was so vast and there was so much going on all the time. It's just a little bit of each campaign or each thing that I, am interested in because it's so vast to try to learn. So I just take a little skip here and a little skip there and learn it that way.
Now, why do you think it's important to maintain military history?
Well, it's good for younger people to learn what it takes for freedom, what sacrifices are made. The fact that these battles occur and wars develop, it would be nice to avoid them, and I guess it would be like thinking of Teddy Roosevelt and his speak softly but carry a big stick. And I guess that's kind of the idea I look at. I hate to see any wars, but if negotiations or talking can help, I think that would be the best efforts.
Is there anything else that we haven't covered or that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I can tell you one thing. Several things. When I was at Great Lakes, the 2 friends that I had made acquaintances with that wanted to go on to medical school, I've kept in correspondence with, I've lost track of one of them, but I'm still corresponding with the other. And in their life, one of them became an eye, ear, nose, throat doctor, and the other became a thoracic surgeon in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So they went through their education and did something with it. Now, I wasn't ever that interested. I was just more or less going along with them wherever they wanted to go, and I wanted to go along too, because we were all friends like that. I think it's important the things I learned from it. I think personal hygiene, cleanliness, living a good, healthy life are very important. I've had 2 major surgeries, which I couldn't help, but one of the things I was going to say was that both times, as I was being wheeled into an operating room, I had to raise my head and look around because I wanted to see what develops and new improvements had been made through the years like that. So I don't think anybody else would be that interested in their surgery, but I was. So I had that in mind. But like I say, I think it's important to live healthy lives, and also I think it would be good for young people and others too to learn a CPR course, take some Red Cross lessons, learn how to operate a heart start defibrillator machine. You never know when these things will come. It only takes one time to come in handy like that. Anything else?
Is there any medals or anything you want to show?
I can show you a few things. By the way, the pharmacist regulation has changed over to be called a hospital corpsman now. That was since I was in the Navy in Philadelphia that they changed over now. So it's been a different designation, but my still rate was called the pharmacist class. But anyway, I was going to tell you another thing. When you talk about rate, that designation is for enlisted personnel. Rank designates officers. So if you ever hear those 2 words, they should be used properly then, so that I can show you some of these things that I have